Okay, so we've got these really fascinating ancient texts in front of us today, starting with the book of Acts.
Right, Acts chapter 4. It gives this picture of the very first followers of Jesus.
And it's quite a picture, isn't it? This idea of them sharing everything.
Totally. Just this complete sense of community, making sure, that nobody was actually in need.
It mentions their unity, one heart and soul. That's pretty
It
intense.
is. And then there's Barnabas, who sells some land.
And just gives the money away, hands it over to the apostles to distribute.
A very practical, very earthly demonstration of something.
Exactly. But then you pivot to Psalm 93.
Uh-huh. And the focus shifts completely. It's not about human community actions anymore.
No, it's all about God's power, right?
Yeah.
Yahweh's kingship.
Yes, this absolute, unwavering divine authority, predating creation itself. Your throne was established long ago, it says. Unshakable.
So we have this earthly community acting in radical unity.
And this declaration of ultimate, cosmic, divine stability. They feel quite different.
They really do. So what's the link? How do they speak to each other? And then there's John's gospel.
Ah, yes, Nicodemus. Chapter 3.
A major religious teacher comes to Jesus, seems genuinely searching.
He does, but Jesus' answer, well, it throws him for a loop.
Telling him he has to be born from above.
Or born of the Spirit, depending on how you translate it.
And Nicodemus is just baffled.
Completely. He immediately goes, literal, physical. How can an old man be born again, enter the womb?
It really shows the gap in understanding, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Jesus is talking spiritually.
A total transformation, a new perspective. And Jesus seems almost surprised Nicodemus doesn't get it.
Yeah. You are Israel's teacher, he says, and you do not understand these things.
Mm-hmm.
And then that key line.
If I have told you earthly things and you do not believe, how can you believe if I tell you heavenly things?
Which is interesting. It suggests, maybe, that understanding certain earthly realities helps grasp spiritual ones.
So could that community in Acts, their way of living, could that be an earthly thing pointing to a heavenly thing? Possibly. Their radical sharing, maybe that's the visible result of this unseen spiritual rebirth Jesus talks about.
Their priorities are flipped. Earthly stuff, possessions, don't hold the same power over them.
It's like that unshakable power from Psalm 93. Maybe it's reflected somehow in the strength of their unity, an inner stability manifesting outwardly.
Jesus uses that metaphor of the wind.
Right. You can't see it, you don't know where it comes from or goes, but you absolutely see its effects.
So the Spirit's work, unseen, maybe mysterious, but the results are tangible, like that community.
That's a powerful way to think about it, this unseen force transforming how people actually live together.
And then Jesus pulls in that story from the Old Testament.
Yes, Moses and the snake in the desert.
He lifted up a bronze snake, and anyone bitten who looked at it would live. Physical healing.
And Jesus connects that directly to himself. Just as Moses lifted up the snake, so the Son of Man must be lifted up.
Referring to his own death and exaltation.
Uh-huh. So that whoever believes in him gets eternal life. Not just physical survival, but something far greater.
So again, an earthly event, looking at the snake, points to a much deeper spiritual heavenly reality.
Exactly. It's an analogy, a way to understand the significance of what's going to happen to him.
So tying it all together,
Yeah.
maybe that community in Acts, sharing everything.
Maybe it's an earthly reflection of people who've undergone that spiritual rebirth, that transformation Jesus described to Nicodemus.
They're living differently because they've grasped something about that heavenly reality. Their perspective has shifted.
It seems plausible, doesn't it? Their radical unity and generosity become, well, evidence of an inner change grounded in this belief about who Jesus is and the eternal life he offers.
It certainly makes you think differently about what faith means in practice. Not just belief, but how it shapes our lives, our communities, how we handle, well, stuff.
Right. How does that ancient call to spiritual rebirth, paired with the vision of God's eternal power and this example of radical community, how does that resonate with how we think about faith and community now?